It's The Journey with drug and alcohol attorney Mark G. Astor.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of The Journey from Addiction to Recovery. Super excited to have as my special guest, Miranda Khan. And many of you will, when you see her, you recognize her from being on Channel 5 many years ago. Mm-hmm. But her new claim to fame, and I think actually probably your most important work, is this book, right? This is The Blossoms of Floraland.
Correct.
And this is actually a book that she just wrote, and it's a tribute to your sister, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had a chance to read it. Miranda was gracious enough to bring it with her, so I'm going to read it.
Of course.
But I've read a little bit about what you've been doing, and I was really inspired. I was motivated, and I was humbled that you would come here and talk about this.
Oh, thank you.
You see?
Likewise.
You see, I was all bravado before we went live, and now you're making me blush. And actually, we did joke a little bit because you were on TV for how many years?
Too long to count, like almost half my life, yeah.
And now I've got you in the hot seat.
I know.
Welcome
right?
to the journey.
Thank you. Go easy on me.
Well, I was going to say the same to you. You cannot see. I'm blushing here. You see, I told you I was going to be outgunned here. All right, so let's get serious for a second. So I want to talk about this.
Okay.
But let's sort of talk a little bit about like your life before that, because you were on TV here for how many years?
I was on TV here from Channel 5, at least, 2004 to 2007. I left, started working for a video production company, trying to figure out the next chapter of my life. So I ended up doing kind of my own business, freelance work. I hosted a couple different shows, did some commercials, did some modeling, things that I never thought I would do, acted in some shows, and then I worked on a couple films. And then didn't think I would return to news, and then I did. In 2014, I was approached by a network and started covering politics. So I did that for about 4 years.
Okay, so where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Kansas.
Grew up in Kansas.
Go ahead. Say it.
Jayhawks?
Yep. I thought you were going to say, everybody says Wizard of Oz.
No, actually, but Audra has red shoes on, and I could have her come in and click and see if it really works.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad you thought, KU and basketball.
Well, that's what my head is. We were talking about college football when I was saying the whole Les Miles Michigan connection. So
yeah, there you go.
That's what my head is. Okay, that's good.
That's all right. That's what Kansas is known for.
So I want to know, when did you decide you wanted to be on TV? Like, at some point you must have said, I want to be on television. That's what I'm going to do. When I grow up, I'm going to be on television.
No, actually, it was really a fluke. I was in high school, and I was thinking about becoming an art teacher.
Okay.
And I had a friend of mine. We were taking a theater class together, and he was taking a journalism class, and he was very creative. And I said to him, his name's Scott. He actually lives in Florida. And I said to him, you should try taking an art class. And he said to me, well, you should try taking this journalism class. And then before I knew it, I was majoring in broadcast journalism. It was really a fluke. And I had a wonderful high school teacher, Sandy Gresham, and I still talk to her to this day. I saw her a few years ago in Kansas City, and she's the one that was kind of shy, so she got me to come out of my shell. I mean, I remember sitting there in class and her saying, who wants to anchor the next show? And I was like ducking my head and hiding and didn't want to do it. And she looked at me and said, how about you? And I was like, ooh, okay. And then I loved it.
See, I was a shy little boy growing up. My mother said she couldn't believe I became a prosecutor and tried all these cases.
Right? I think it happens that you kind of evolve, It shapes you. It doesn't define you. And I think she really helped me get out of my shell.
So I want to know something. When you got in front of the camera for the first time, did you feel like you were having like this out-of-body experience? Like you're like, okay, who is this person?
No, actually.
You didn't? See, I did.
Really? No,
Well, even
what was
when
it like for you?
Well, so, I interned with the prosecutor's office here in Palm Beach, which is how I told you I know some of these people from Channel 5.
Yeah.
Who was the anchor that unfortunately was recently killed in a motorcycle accident?
I didn't work with her, but I know a lot of people were very close to her.
So I knew her. I used to see her in the courthouse, and it'll come to me in a minute. And I'd reconnected with her about 2 years ago. I literally bumped into her parking lot in West Palm, and I feel terrible, I can't remember her name. But anyway, so that's how I sort of knew the Channel 5, because right around that time there was a whole issue with, Phil Butler, and there was all kinds of corruption issues going on in Palm Beach, and she used to do the courthouse beat, and I was this young, full of piss and vinegar prosecutor, and this beautiful lady would come up, and she's like, got any news for me? And I'm like, can't tell you anything, you know that, right? But, when I started, the first time I actually got interviewed on TV was actually about the O.J. Simpson case.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting case to be.
Yeah, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, had a lot more hair, and I was a little on the slimmer side. And I said, "Wow, this is fun." And after that, Barry, who was the state attorney at the time, used to say, "Listen, you can talk to the press, but 2 rules. Don't make an idiot of yourself, right?
Okay.
And don't violate don't disclose anything you shouldn't be disclosing, right? I mean, if it's something that's an ongoing investigation in the office,
right, you
can't talk about it." And I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool."
And you loved it.
I did, but it's the same thing being in, like when you're in trial, right? You have your 6 or your 12-person jury, and you're sitting there, and when I first time I did it, I said, "Wow, I can really feel the energy of the jury.
That's cool.
It's a different type.
That is cool.
It's a different type of experience."
Is it really like Law and Order? Because I love Law and Order.
Well, my mom.
I honestly think I've watched every episode.
You know what's funny?
Order.
They say like doctors can't watch doctor shows, so trial lawyers can't watch like the lawyer shows, right? Because they start, especially when you're seeing things that are going on in the trial. Right, my mum loves Law and Order. I swear to God,
I heard it was the most realistic.
I think my mother could actually probably have passed the bar exam by now, seeing as she's watched every episode of Law and Order. And
I love it.
But sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, Mother, you can't do that in a real courtroom. But so some of it's not
as theatrical.
But I always enjoyed sort of that theatrical side of being a trial lawyer, because I think that most jurors don't want to be there, right? They're getting paid a pittance. They're having to take time off from work. They're away from their family.
Sure.
So they want some level of entertainment. They actually want to enjoy the experience. And every juror I ever spoke to after a trial said, that was the most amazing experience. They really...
See, I'm the nerd that always wanted to be a juror, and I would have been, but they let me go because I had connections to the prosecutor, so I wasn't able to do it. But I always wanted to do it. I thought it was cool. Everyone goes, "Oh no, I have jury duty," and I'm like, "You do? I want to be."
you really get to see how things work. And when I was in law school, they say when you're in trial, right, you're really on stage, right? They are watching everything, your movements, your expressions. They want to see if you wear a different tie, right? Because I tried a case against a guy one time. We were in trial for a week. He wore the same pants every day, and the jurors told me afterwards we couldn't understand why the other lawyer wore the same pants every day. They looked like pajamas by the end of the trial, right? So they watch everything.
Wow, very
they watch
perceptive.
Everything. So you can't have any food in your teeth after lunch. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, because I'm notorious for that. I'm pretty
really.
Good at it.
I could not have imagined that. You seem so well put together.
Oh well, thank you. Yes, I without a doubt, if there's a will, there's a way, and I will definitely get them in between my teeth. I'm pretty good at it.
When you were on TV, did you ever get caught with food in between your teeth? Like, did the cameraman look at you and go...
Yeah, I don't think so, but I think I did get like a little lipstick, but fortunately I don't think you saw it.
Right.
People were pretty good. My crew was pretty good about
Okay. All right, so we're going to go back to the club.
So should I just stare at your teeth right now and make you feel like you have...
Yeah, no.
No, you're fine. You're good.
The teeth are good?
You're great.
All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do your journalism class, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so how do you end up, how does that go from there to TV?
There to TV. So that was in high school. And Sandy Gresham, and I'm sure she's fine if I say her name, Sandy K. Gresham, she invited a gentleman by the name of Bruce McRoberts. He was a sports director at a local cable access channel to come in and kind of do this interview process. I wanted to become station manager, so I really excelled in that program because of Sandy Gresham. So I was like, okay, I've anchored, I've done this, and I've done that, now I want to be the boss. And so I remember interviewing with him. She kind of set it up where we had to impress him. Needless to say, I got it. And thank you. And then Bruce said to me, "Hey, kid, when you graduate, give me a call. I'll try to get you a job." And you probably didn't think I was going to actually remember that. But
you did.
But I did.
Okay.
And he, sure enough, got me a job. Vivian Wilkerson was the general manager at the time at the cable access channel. And I'll never forget, it was a job, as a videographer. And a large part of what I was going to do was shooting sports, which, as I discussed with you. So
you were holding the camera?
Uh-huh. I was carrying the camera.
Okay.
And then I also did studio camera. But I remember sitting in her office and her saying to me, "So how much do you know about sports?" And I looked at her and I said, "Not a lot, but I'm willing to learn." And I did. I just asked a lot of questions, watched a lot of videotape back in the day to figure out what this player was doing and what position they were doing. I still wasn't amazing, but it was a great experience. It was such an amazing experience.
Okay, so were you doing like the courtside reporting? You'd be like the...
I'm sorry?
Were you doing like the courtside reporting? You'd be the one who was interviewing the athlete?
No. I literally was just shooting video. And then that kind of morphed into doing a pilot show for teenagers and interviewing teenagers. It started off interviewing teenagers. That was a segment. And then we did a pilot show. And this was all while I was still in college. And then I went to KU and actually was able to start taking my courses. But I kind of felt like I was a little step ahead because of this job. And that's basically what happened. I started doing some internships. There were a couple different stations in Topeka, Kansas that I interned with. And I had a journalism professor that thought it would be good practice for me to go in and do like an audition for their morning anchor position. And they actually offered me the job, but I was still in college. So they looked at me and said, "Oh, wait a minute, you're still in school?" And I said, "Yeah, but I only have one more semester." And she said to me, the news director at the time, "Kiddo, you have all the time in the world. Finish up school." And I said, "Well, can I at least intern on the weekends?" And then we're gonna, say no to free work. So that's what I did. And then 2 weeks after graduation, I was in Louisiana, anchoring the morning show there.
So I want to know something, because I looked online, and there's like this an IMDb profile about you. And I think you sort of alluded to, I don't know if it was before we went on, but you did some acting and some modeling.
Yeah.
So
crazy, right?
So how'd that all fit in?
So I worked at KPLC TV in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and then from there I went to the Quad Cities, and I worked for WQAD, and then I came to Florida, where I worked for Channel 5, WPTV, and then I was kind of like in this crossroads where I didn't know where I wanted to go, and I wasn't really liking the opportunities that
Did you like working at Channel 5?
I loved working at Channel 5.
Because I've met some people there. I mean, I told you I know Kelly, and she's fantastic. What a nice lady.
No, genuine, wonderful people. And I mean, the station manager, he's incredible. The president of the Scripps Broadcasting Company, great guy, wonderful people, and I have friends at other stations too, so I don't want it to sound like I just like Channel 5.
Do you know Liz Carrantes?
I do.
So her husband Craig, who's still with the Steady Stones, we had interned together in 1993.
Did you really?
We went to law school together. He was a semester ahead of me. Awesome. We interned together. They hired me, Craig, and one other guy, Terry Nolan, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. And Craig is still there. So.
That's awesome.
And I see pictures of Craig and Liz with the kids, which is interesting, because I remember when Liz was pregnant with their son, and I think he's getting married now.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Crazy, right?
Right.
And Liz looks exactly the same as she did.
She looks better.
In 1993. I'm not kidding you.
I think
Craig,
she looks better.
And if he sees this, he still looks pretty good, but like me, he's gotten older. But Liz, amazing.
Yeah. She is.
The kids have good genes.
Yes, they definitely do. Beautiful kids. I saw a picture of her daughter on Facebook the other day. Gorgeous, gorgeous kids. Yeah, definitely. And Rick Blackwell, who actually used to be there at Channel 12, who's now at the Palm Beach County School District. I mean, you want to talk about model family. I don't know if you recall seeing him there, but their kids are just gorgeous. So, yeah, wonderful people. So loved working at Channel 5, and I was trying to, where were we? We're talking about like how I ended up doing that.
Yeah, the whole acting modeling thing.
I was working at Comar Productions, and I was like, wasn't sure if I wanted to. The way our business works is you sign a contract, right? So 2 or 3 years, you pick up, you move, and you're committed to that station. And I wasn't really liking the opportunities that were available to me at the time, and Comar needed help with the project. I went straight up to him, and Jim Gallagher is the vice president of that company, and said, "Hey, I need a job, and I don't want to, and explain the situation." And Jim had been in broadcast, and so I started working there and doing stuff at one of their major clients is PGA. So all those years of covering golf before kind of came in handy. So I did some work with them. And then we had a few clients that were familiar with me being on news, and I was writing some of their commercials and whatnot, and they asked me if I would be interested in doing actual on-camera commercials. And I was kind of on the fence, not sure, do I want to do this or not want to do this? And eventually I felt like, when life just kind of feels like it's pulling you there. Like you were talking about that conference you went to.
The universe sometimes nudges you in a certain direction.
And I felt like everything was nudging me that way. And so I decided, what the heck, I'll do it. And put everything into it and built a website and got some agents and started working on various projects, everything from voiceover to modeling, which I never thought I would do.
What kind of things were you modeling? Dare I even ask?
No. You can ask.
I'm not trying to be that much of a
No.
prior.
It's fine. I try. I can assure you, it's PG. I did some modeling for like Walmart and Office Depot, a lot of retail, commercial stuff like that. But I also did some artistic projects, and that's not code for anything. It was just artistic projects that I worked with some amazing photographers, and it was just a lot of fun, like various clients. Evolution Med Spa was one of them. Loved it. It was a great time. I never thought in a million years I would be doing something like that, so it was a great experience.
Okay, so what comes next? What's next for Miranda?
What's next? This.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, so
this is my
because this is really why, and I'm going to hold this up.
Yeah.
This is why you came to talk to me, right? This is why I nudged you, and it's so funny. So Alan was here.
Yeah.
From my last podcast, which we did with Jason Williams, and I said, "Oh, Alan, Miranda's coming on my show," and he said, "Well, how did that happen?" And I said, "Well, I saw her on yours, so I messaged her through Facebook, and I said, 'Hi, I'm Mark. You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Alan's, and I want you on my podcast.' And you know what? She said yes."
That's funny.
He was cute about it. It was great.
Yeah, I saw Alan over the weekend.
He's the best.
Yeah,
We love Alan.
Sweet guy.
Amazing,
So
amazing, inspirational guy, and just a good friend. And I mean, Audra and I love him.
Yeah.
Just really love him.
He has a great energy about him.
He does,
really
right?
does.
Isn't he amazing? I mean, from what he's been through.
Exactly.
But the same could be said about you too.
Yeah. I think that's, we in fact, it's interesting. I mean, I just met Alan a couple weeks ago. I don't even think it's been a full 2 weeks. We connected right away. I actually came into contact with him through AFSP. That's the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, for your viewers that may not be familiar with it. And I was looking for an organization to team up with for this book that I was working on. And I called the organization, talked to various people, basically got that okay. And I said, is there anybody that if I'm asked to do some media coverage that would be willing to go on air and is pretty good on air? And they said, oh, you have to talk to Alan Mednick. You got to talk to him. And so I did, and we had lunch, and lunch turned into like 4 hours later, and he told me his story. I told him my story, and he was just very inspirational. It was such a pleasure to meet him.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
We love him. So I want to know, we'll talk about the book, but I want to know about your sister. Tell me about Meredith. Tell me about your sister.
Walking angel.
So I know that your sister
Pure
passed.
soul.
She took her own life. When was that?
It was May of 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always remember the day that my father passed away. It obviously wasn't under quite the same circumstances, but I think that's,
You said it was January of that.
January 15th. It was a week after my 50th birthday. And he went unexpectedly.
I'm so
but
sorry.
It's okay, but my father had a good life, so. And how old was your sister?
36.
Oh, so she's a baby. Young.
Yeah.
Like if you start to cry, I'm going to join you. I'm a sucker for a woman that cries, and I speak to a lot of I speak to a lot of crying mums. So
Yeah.
So were you close to your sister?
Yeah. I wouldn't say we were like a traditional sister relationship. It was more of kind of like a motherly relationship I had with my sister. That's probably the best way to describe it. She was very innocent, naive, childlike in everything she did. I would pick her up from school. We were, 5 years apart. I'd pick her up from school, and if she, got good grades, we'd go and get ice cream, and she'd sit there and we'd work on reading, and she'd read to me, and if she messed up, start back at the beginning of the sentence and stuff like that. She was just, angelic. And I know a lot of people say that about somebody when they pass. No one wants to speak ill of anyone. But she really was, and this is not just coming from me as her older sister, but from all those who knew her, she literally was the kind of person that would give you the shirt off her back. I mean, you could say, oh, I really like that. That looks great on you. And she'd go, oh.
You want it?
Do you want it? Yeah. Very, very, very kind, generous, creative, intelligent, almost kind of savant-like in a lot of ways. Yeah.
You have other siblings?
No, that was it.
You and your sister.
Just
What
me
about
and
your
my
parents?
sis.
Your parents are around? I
My
read the story.
dad passed away in 2011, and my mother is living with me now. She has early on dementia, so she's staying with me now, so I can keep
You have
her
such an
watching her.
interesting family history. I read about your dad and where he
Yeah.
came from, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah, not what you'd expect, right?
how cool is that,
Thank you.
right? Very.
Thank
It was just really. You never know about anybody until you never know about their history until you bother to read, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I never knew that about Miranda because I'd seen you on TV, and then when Alan mentioned your name, I'm like, I know that name. Is she on TV? And he's like, yeah, Channel 5. And I'm like, that's how I know her. But then, because I knew you were going to come on, I started to read about you, and I was like, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah?
Especially about your dad. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. Should we
did.
tell everybody?
Go ahead. Say your...
Oh, so my dad was born in Pakistan. He's actually was Afghan descent, but he came over here in his mid to late 20s. Very actually conservative in his belief system. Very opposite of my mom, who grew up in the States. That's how they met. She was actually traveling, was a world history teacher, and wanted to get out of the States, and that's how the two met. And her family was all in Kansas, so that's where they ended up coming back. So, yeah, he spent half his life here.
Well,
Yeah,
so you live with your mom.
I do.
So, I told you I lived with my parents for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I was in the house. My father fell and hurt himself, and that was pretty much the end of that. And then I lived with my mom for another year.
Yeah.
And now she's on her own. My mother was married to my dad for 50 years. Mom, if you're watching this, sorry I got to share this with Miranda.
No, please do.
And so she was with my dad for 50 years. They met on a blind date when she was 23. I think they met on a Sunday. My mother was beautiful like you. And my father,
Oh, thank you.
my mother was dressed in her Sunday best. She knew she was going to meet this guy. And my father walked in, and his hair was all slicked back, and he was covered in... My mother said he was covered in oil and stuff. He'd been tinkering with his car, and he walked in and lit up a cigarette. My mother's like, who the hell is this guy? My mother looked at him and said, yeah, I'm going to marry that girl. And I think that was a Sunday. I think the following Friday they were engaged.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow.
My father was very...
I love that. I'm such a romantic, so I think that's really
my father,
great.
my father was very like, sees it, wants it, takes it, does it, that's it. He wasn't one to really spend a lot of time pondering about decisions, even if they turned out to be wrong.
When he knew it, he knew it.
Yeah, and sometimes, most time he was right, but occasionally he got it wrong. I mean, that's just life, right? We make mistakes. It's called the human experience. But he saw my mum and said, that's it. Done.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, after he passed, I spent a year living with my mum, and now she's on her own. I mean, she has her own place, and
Doing well.
I think it's been a struggle for her, though. It's been difficult.
Yeah, sure.
Her whole life
We-
revolved around my dad and kids and stuff, and so she's still mum. I speak to her every day, and I try and take her out for dinner at least once or twice a week.
Nice.
And,
Such a good sign.
I try to be. So essentially, 52, and she, mothers. I think, and I learned this from speaking to the other parents too that we deal with. I think someone's child is always going to be the child, however old they get. Like my mother still wants to know, am I mixing my whites and colors when I do laundry?
Oh, wow.
And for the record, I am.
You are.
I am.
Oh,
I do.
wow.
I'm not doing two separate
How do you
washes.
do that?
Just chuck it all in one go.
And does that work out for you?
Well, I don't know if the socks are as white as they should be, but if they're under my under my pants, what difference does it make?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? When I was
that's bold.
really well, it's bold to actually admit it publicly. I mean, if
That's
I
true.
ever
That's
run for
true.
political office, I could see that getting used against me. Don't vote for Asta. He mixes his colors and whites. Not a good guy. If that's what he does for his laundry, imagine what he'll do to you.
Exactly. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
So
I
I think
love that.
So I think that's great. You're taking care of your mom.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
I love it.
She's a handful. No, I'm just kidding.
Parents are great. And you know what you don't realize? It's interesting because my father was sick for so long, and the stress on the family was incredible. But since he's gone, it just
This was from falling?
well, he'd had 2 years of medical issues, and then one night he fell, and we don't know if he had a stroke, fell and hit his head, or did he fall and hit his head. And, I mean, who knows? He had a massive
Sure.
head bleed. Within
Oh.
24 hours, he was gone. But sometimes I feel such a tremendous sense of loss. I really do. And it's funny. There are sometimes I'm like, okay, I just would like to be able to call and say, what do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Right?
I'll be like, okay, what would my dad say? And I'm like, okay, you remember that scene from Top Gun when Maverick's in the plane, he's like, talk to me, Goose, talk to me, Goose. I'm like, talk to me, Dad, talk to me. What should I do? What should I do? Sometimes he does.
Yeah.
He does. And sometimes I know what he's telling me is right, and I'm going to do the wrong thing anyway because I'm like, oh my dad.
I still talk to my dad. I talk to my dad. I talk to my grandmother. I talk to them all. I'm sure people look at me like when it's wrong with her. I don't do it all the time, like not in public
Yeah, I try not to
situations.
do it like if anybody else is watching. It might be a silent moment in my own head.
But if I'm at the park and no one else is really around, or I'm in the car, they don't know if I'm talking on the phone. I could, so that's when I kind of talk to my family and my sister, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this book was your sister's idea, right?
The entire concept was hers.
So tell us about the concept. What is this a book about?
This book, well, let's go back to the concept, and then I can kind of explain this story. So my sister, for I want to say 2 or 3 years, was working on this children's book concept. I think she wanted it to be kind of a series and wanted it to go from there and blossom into something bigger and better. No pun intended, totally intended. And she would talk about it. She was just obsessed with it. She created all the characters. So all the characters you see in the book, those were hers, all the blossoms. And it's basically 4 girls, and they're all named after a particular flower. Their costumes coordinate with that. She even went as far as kind of sketching what she wanted them to look like and creating costumes and putting them on Barbies and whatnot. And she had, protagonists, detailed description, their special powers and whatnot. She had this whole world that she had created, but not a specific story. When she passed, and I was going through her apartment, I went through all these notes, and I was very emotionally distraught, not able to actually.
So did you go through your sister's papers? I did the same for my dad.
Yeah. I
And
wouldn't.
it was gut wrenching.
It was. It was. I didn't want anybody else to go through my sister's apartment. I wanted that moment, and it was one of those things where it was kind of scary being in there by myself, and at the same time I didn't want to miss anything, and I didn't want people to touch anything, and I needed that. The sad part for me is that I realized I learned more about her in death than I did while she was alive. So.
What'd you learn about her?
I had no idea she was so involved in this book, and I got an idea of how she struggled with mental illness. So I got an idea of being in her head.
Did you know that she was struggling though? Did you know there were issues? I mean, because I think I think it touches all of us in some way. I mean, it's just a matter of the degree.
I knew that she had been struggling from mental illness for a while. I mean, it had been pretty much half her life. So I was accustomed to that, but I don't think I was aware at the time. And even her social worker, even her therapist, everybody thought she was in a really good place. She was supposed to go to Comic-Con that weekend. She had told her, therapist that she was coming to see me in Florida. So this really blindsided a lot of people. And I think, as I'm learning more about suicide, and in many cases, in fact, when I'm learning the majority of cases, it is impulsiveness.
I was going to say, it wasn't something she sort of sat around and pondered. It doesn't sound like it was, right? It doesn't sound like she was planning.
She did some planning, but not enough. I mean, you didn't go through the apartment and go, okay, this looks like somebody that's wanting to. There was no. Now, granted, the detectives did confiscate some things, some notes that they thought would be too disturbing for me to look through, but later sent to me. But you just kind of get an idea of when, looking through her notes, you got an idea of when she was doing well and when she was kind of manic. And I don't know if that makes sense, but you know how when we write notes, right, we write them like this. Well, she would have a receipt and then flip the receipt, and then there would be Blossoms of Floorland, and this character has this, and then there would be a to-do list, and it was just all over the place. So I don't know how else to describe it, but it just gave me this real sense of of who she was, what she was going through. And I just, yeah, it was hard.
So how far into the book was she?
She was, well, as far as the world, she was very far. Creating the story, that's where I kind of came in and worked with a credible illustrator by the name of Tyler Hollis and teamed up with her, thanks to a mutual friend of ours, Jim Sitton, who's a videographer over at Channel 5.
So when did you make the
WPTV.
decision? Because I think this is such an amazing tribute to your sister, and you have her name on the front. And so when did you say, I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to make this
I stared at that forever. Just like, there's her name. There's her name. I love it. When did I make the decision?
Yeah, because, I mean, it couldn't have been an easy thing to do, I'm sure. Because you're sort of revisiting everything. It's almost like now you're doing this with your sister, even though she's physically not here, right?
It took me forever to even admit that my sister died by suicide. I mean, I didn't really say it out loud until 2018. And I knew when I left the network and I wasn't doing the political show anymore, I was kind of confronted with, okay, now you have some time on your hands. Maybe you should actually do what you said you were going to do. And I told people, like, yeah, eventually maybe I'll get to writing my sister's book. We all get busy, and it's something like you're kind of afraid, like you were saying, it's going to conjure up all these emotions. But I knew that I was ready. Enough time had passed. I had talked about it. I had accepted come to terms with what happened with my sister, and I was ready to pull out the box and start going through those notes. But I needed help with someone who was familiar with doing that. And so I reached out to Jim Sitton at Channel 5. I don't know if you remember the story of his daughter, Michaela.
I don't.
So in 2009, on Thanksgiving, Jim tragically lost his baby girl.
With Jim
Sitton.
Okay, I don't remember Jim, but
it was horrible. And I actually wasn't working at Channel 5 at the time, but he lost his mother-in-law, and I believe his wife lost a cousin. But it was Thanksgiving. His wife's cousin, who they hadn't seen in a long time, came over for Thanksgiving, went out to the car, came in, and started shooting.
Oh, Jesus.
And Tyler Hollis is a children's book author and illustrator, and she had read about the Sitton story and reached out to them through a newspaper reporter and said, could you please pass on my information? I'd like to work with them on doing a children's book. So I went to that book signing. Let's fast forward. Tyler also lost her daughter, and that's what got her into writing children's books. So that was many years ago. I remember meeting Tyler, going to the book signing, and just the profound impact that it had. So I reached out to Jim and said, do you think Tyler would be interested in teaming up with me to do this? And he said, well, let me give her a shout and see what she thinks. And so needless to say, she was interested, and I went and I met with her, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. It was like those chills you get when you walk in and you meet somebody and like, we're supposed to meet and this is supposed to happen. And it did. And that was in, end of April, early May. And it just came together. I worked with her on notes and this and writing this and that. And she's just, she's worked on 100 different children's books. So it was wonderful to have someone help me when I was like, I don't even know where to begin. So
is this the first of many?
I hope so. You know what? Yes. There, that's more confident, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll
yes.
Can it be turned into a movie? Maybe it'll be like a little.
I would love that.
Like a little, what do they call it? A cartoon.
Cartoons, right? I would love that.
The illustrations are beautiful.
Isn't she amazing? Yeah.
So when did the book actually come out?
Just last week.
So this is literally hot off the press.
Hot off the press.
And so how do people get it?
Then go to Amazon.
Okay.
Right now it's available at Amazon. You can also reach out to your bookstore if you have like a favorite local bookstore near you. You can give them a call and say, "Hey, do you have this book?"
So which bookstores are gonna have it?
I hope as many as possible, but I need help. So I'm trying to get it.
So what can we do to help you?
Like I said, call them, reach out, ask for the book, see if they have it, see if they'll order it. Yeah, that would help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to boost the bejesus out of this podcast.
Thank
People
you.
go online.
Yeah. And I don't want to forget to mention that a portion of the proceeds are also going to go towards AFSP. And that's really actually how I came into contact, because I was looking for an organization to team up with. And I just so happened to see that they were doing this suicide awareness and prevention walk in the very park where I walk all the time. And I said, as I talked to my sister, so that came up, and that's how I kind of teamed up with them.
So
yeah.
Are you doing like book signings and stuff like that?
I'm working on it.
You
I'm
are?
actually working on setting it up, and I'm in the process of.
How excited you are!
I am. Isn't
that great?
It's the most profound thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Being able to make my sister's dream come true.
I'm sure she's looking down and saying, "Wow, my sister did a pretty damn good job with that book."
Yeah, she's amazing. I wasn't gonna do that.
I told you I'll make them all cry.
No. I gotta keep it together. Composure.
It's good.
Mm.
This is like a really real show, and sometimes we get emotional on the show.
Yeah.
So normally I get emotional when I talk about my dad, but you sort of beat me to the punch. You got emotional
Yeah.
before me, so I felt out emotioned. So what's next for you? I mean, I know you're writing the book, and hopefully there's going to be more. So
I've been working on the social media pages, working on putting a website together. I'm actually in the process of coming up with the concept for the next book. So doing that, and I don't know.
So how do people like? I don't know if you how do they find out about like book signings, and how do they make donations to the organization? How do they do all that stuff?
How do they do all that? Well, I'm gonna.
And you have a website. There's a Facebook page for this, right?
Facebook page for it as well. So it's the Blossoms of Floraland. You can find me on Twitter. You can find it on Instagram, Facebook, all of that. You can find out the latest information. If you want a book signing set up at your bookstore or some event, let me know. If you want me to come speak at your school, I can do that. A library, so anything. I'm actually in the process. I'm really excited. I'm trying to get a costume together that will kind of fit the book. So
You are? What are you gonna dress up as?
I'm gonna leave that as a surprise.
Well, I want to know. Is one of these you and one of these your sister?
No, these are her characters. These are like her vision.
Because I was trying to think. I'm thinking that. Well, that's probably Miranda. I don't know if Meredith was a brunette or not, but
She has dark hair. Yeah, she was very. The one thing I really like that my sister paid special attention to was that she didn't want this kind of cookie cutter version of what the girls should look like, if that makes sense. She really was wanting to promote diversity, and you see that in this book. So I like that.
Maybe that's because of your background, right? You come from such a diverse background.
Yeah, kind of ethnically ambiguous. Some of them can be. So yeah, you've got African American, Lily's Asian, so it's very different. Rose, you can see, is a redhead, and yeah, Daisy has blonde hair, and there's another character in there. You don't see it on the cover, but she's introduced, and more characters.
Is the son? Is that a certain character?
The son? No, it's not a certain character yet, but we may do something with that later. Yeah.
Okay.
The son was very important to her.
Source of all energy.
Yeah. That's very important. And they have like special powers, flower powers as she called them, and yeah.
I think you're on something here, Miranda.
Yeah?
I do. I think you got a winner on your hands. I love it. I'm so glad you came in.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm so humbled. Thank you. I love what you're doing, too. I think it's great.
Thanks.
And I'm not just saying that. I've never seen a lawyer or a law firm tackle some of the issues that you're taking on. So I commend you for doing that and wish you the best.
Thanks. It's rewarding work.
I bet.
But
I can see it in your face.
It is. Because after I left the state attorney's office for a long time, I was miserable being a lawyer. I completely lost focus. And I think the one thing I realized was, in order to be a happy lawyer, I think just to be happy in general with whatever you do, I think you have to be doing something where you're helping people. You have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning, to fight, to scrap and do your thing and get in the middle of the eye of the storm to make a difference.
Yeah.
So
and you're doing that.
I'm trying, and well, I love what we do. There are times where I'm like, okay, I just need some alone time because otherwise Mark's going to scream and pull the what's left of his hair out. Because, you know, we're dealing with people who are
Struggling.
They're really struggling, and it's interesting because, you know, their loved one, and it's typically their child is sort of in the middle. They're like the sun, right? They're in the middle, and everything is hunky dory. But it's everybody around them that's really, they're the ones who are in emotional crisis because they're like they're
Sure.
looking and like, my loved one is killing themselves, and they don't seem to see it. So
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have to, when we get done, I want to know how you felt to be in the hot seat.
Oh. Woo.
Yeah, it got warm in here all of a
I
sudden.
got warm in here, speaking of hot.
So, all right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like us and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the other channels that Jay has now got me on. Thank you, Jay. You can also find us on the web, drugandalcoholattorneys.com. Don't make me laugh. You can email me, mark@drugandalcoholattorneys.com, or you can call me, 561-419-6095. Thanks for tuning in.